It's the Luna. She's poisoning you. Alpha King Brian turned slowly from the window. An Omega servant stood in his doorway, small, trembling, but her eyes did not waver. No one spoke to royalty like this, especially not the lowest-ranked wolf in the palace. "What did you say?" "Your Majesty, the woman you sleep beside every night is slowly killing you." The Omega's voice shook, yet she forced the words out. "I can prove it." Brian's heart slammed against his ribs. If she was lying, she would be dead within the hour. But she did not retreat. She did not break. Before he could alter another word, the door creaked open. His Luna stood frozen at the threshold, the colour draining from her perfect face. She had heard everything. She strode forward, closing the distance between herself and the Omega. "What did you just say?" Kate demanded, her voice trembling with controlled fury. "I saw you, Luna," the Omega replied, voice unsteady but certain. "White powder from a leather pouch. You mixed it into the Alpha King's wine by the rose garden window." Smack! The sharp sound split the chamber. Kate's hand struck the Omega's face, sudden, precise, violent. Brian's eyes darkened as his gaze locked onto Kate. Her body trembled, her posture uncertain, guilty. "She lies for advancement," Kate snapped. "Omegas like her manipulate to rise above their station." But her hands were shaking. Brian spent 5 years blaming himself for being broken. How many people suffer in silence because they don't know someone else is causing their pain? Drop your thoughts below. Subscribe for more werewolf romance drama. Brian's mind flashed through memories. For 5 years of marriage, the endless healer visits, the weakness that began after their mating ceremony, the blurred vision during council meetings, and Kate, always there, always caring, always controlling everything he consumed. At the time, it had felt like devotion. Now, something darker began to take shape. The Omega lifted a trembling hand to her cheek. "My mother died like this, Your Majesty," she whispered. "Someone she trusted made her weak. I watched her fade for months, never knowing why." Pain, not ambition, shook her voice. Brian turned slowly to his Luna. "If this accusation is false, swear it on our bond, on the moon goddess herself. Swear you have never knowingly harmed me." Silence answered first. Sometimes silence screams louder than any confession. Instead of swearing, Kate's voice rang sharp and commanding. "Guards, seize this Omega for committing treason against me. Kill her now." Brian's expression darkened. Kate had acted too quickly, too boldly. His mind raced, rage, doubt, instinct. Everything collided inside him. "Don't," Brian said suddenly, his voice low, absolute, and commanding. The guards froze at the doorway. "No one touches her." His eyes burned gold as he turned on the trembling Omega. "How dare you?" he growled, alpha power filling the room. "How dare you accuse my mate, my Luna, of treason?" Fear flashed across the Omega's face, but she did not break. "Brian!" Kate cried, voice shaking now, desperate. "Kill her! Such insolence cannot be tolerated! Kill her now!" Brian did not look at her. "Guards," he said at last, voice cold and controlled. "Detain this Omega until I investigate." The words fell like iron. Kate's breath caught. Then tears burst free. "Investigate what?" she choked. "She lied against me, and you could not even stand up for me?" The chamber fell into suffocating silence. "Guards!" Brian's command cracked like thunder. 2 beta wolves rushed forward. "Detain the Omega," Brian ordered, voice hard as winter stone. "She has made an accusation against the Luna. Treason of the highest order." The Omega did not resist as rough hands seized her arms. She had known this would come. "Your Majesty, please," she started. "Silence!" His alpha presence pressed down on her, forcing her head to bow. But even as her body obeyed instinct, her voice pushed through. "I can prove what I've said." Kate's sharp intake of breath cut through the tension.
"The powder," the Omega continued. "It's hidden in the Luna's private chambers. 3rd drawer of her vanity, beneath the silk scarves, a small leather pouch with a moon clasp."
The precision of her words struck him, sharp and undeniable. "Ridiculous," Kate said, but her hand had already moved toward her throat, fingers clutching at her lunar pendant. "She's guessing. Or she broke into my chambers and planted—"
"I've never touched your things, Luna," the Omega said quietly. "I saw you retrieve it through the service entrance by the rose garden. When you dropped the powder into His Majesty's wine, you didn't notice me cleaning the corner fireplace." Brian remembered that evening. Kate had poured his wine herself, insisted he drink it all. Watched him with eyes he'd thought were filled with devotion. He'd felt ill afterwards, spent half the night dizzy and weak. She'd held him while his body betrayed him.
While she'd caused it.
"This is insane,"
Kate said, control fracturing.
"You're going to believe the word of an Omega over your own mate? Over the bond we share?"
The bond. The sacred connection between Alpha and Luna, blessed by the moon goddess herself. But maybe he'd felt the wrongness all along and chose not to see it. "If she's lying," Brian said slowly, "then you have nothing to fear. We search your chambers. If there's no pouch, no powder, this Omega dies for false accusation." The Omega's pulse hammered in her throat, but she didn't look away. Kate's smile was all edges.
"Of course. Search whatever you like."
But her free hand was trembling, and she'd taken 2 small steps backward, closer to the door. Escape instinct. Brian gestured to the guards. "Bring the court healer and the head beta, now." The head beta, Marcus, arrived first, followed by the ancient healer, Isla. "Marcus," Brian said, "take 2 guards, search the Luna's private chambers, 3rd drawer of her vanity, beneath the silk scarves. Look for a leather pouch with a moon clasp." Kate's laugh was too bright, too sharp, too desperate. "This is humiliating. When you find nothing, I expect that Omega's execution to be public." But she'd pressed herself against the wall now, like she needed it to stay upright. Marcus bowed and left. The weight stretched. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Marcus returned, his face grim, holding a small leather pouch with a moon clasp. The world stopped. Brian's hand trembled as he took the pouch, opened it. White powder, fine as snow, filled the small bag. He looked at Kate. "Explain this." Her face had gone ashen. "I don't know what that is."
"Someone planted it there. This Omega. She must have broken into my chambers, placed it there herself to frame me. Even now, even caught, she lied."
"Is it?"
Brian's voice was dangerously quiet. He turned to Isla. "Test this. Tell me what it is." The old healer took the pouch, sniffed it, touched the tiniest amount to her tongue, and went very still. "Speak," Brian commanded. Isla's ancient gaze lifted to Kate. "Wolfsbane extract, combined with Barren root, designed to weaken the wolf spirit and destroy fertility over time. The moon thistle masks it from detection." The room tilted. "Taken in small doses over months or years," Isla continued, "it would cause what you've experienced, Your Majesty. Weakness, dizziness, complete infertility. And the victim would appear healthy enough that no doctor would find the cause." Something inside Brian's chest went cold. The mate bond sat there like scar tissue, still present, but dead, silent. She'd killed it, slowly, with every dose of poison. "Tell me," he whispered, "that this isn't what I think it is." Kate's composure finally shattered. "I did it for us. I couldn't lose you. I couldn't lose everything." For us. As if poisoning him was an act of love. "You were never going to lose me," Brian said, each word like swallowing glass. "I gave you everything, and you twisted it into poison because you were afraid." He stepped back from her, and the distance felt final. "I would have forgiven infertility, mistakes, even lies. But you made me doubt my own strength, my own worth, my own reality. You held me while I suffered, and let me think I was failing." His hands shook. "You didn't just betray me. You made me betray myself." Kate reached for him, and he flinched. "Don't touch me." He turned to Marcus. "Take the Luna to the holding cells. She is to be treated with basic dignity, but nothing more." "Brian, please," Kate started. "You don't get to use my name anymore. You lost that right when you chose to destroy me instead of trusting me." As guards moved to take her, Kate's eyes blazed with desperation. "What's your name, Omega? Tell the Alpha King your name." The servant raised her head. "Anaya Frost, Your Majesty." Brian looked at her. This servant who'd been braver than him, who'd risked everything, while he'd risked nothing. "You saved my life tonight, Anaya Frost." She nodded once, and there was no triumph in her eyes. Only quiet sadness. Because saving a life and healing it weren't the same thing at all. The tribunal chamber filled with ranked wolves as sunset painted the sky blood red. Every beta, every gamma, every wolf of standing crammed into the ancient hall where pack justice had been dispensed for 3 generations. Brian sat on the Alpha's throne, feeling the weight of it more than ever before. To his right, the Luna's throne stood empty, a glaring absence that made the pack elders shift uncomfortably. Marcus stood at attention beside him. Isla waited with her evidence, and in the corner, barely visible, Anaya sat with her guard, eyes downcast. "Bring in the Luna," Brian commanded. The doors opened. Kate entered flanked by guards. She'd dressed in full Luna regalia, the ceremonial gown, the silver circlet, every piece of jewelry that marked her status. Her head was high, her face serene. She'd always been an excellent performer. Brian stood, and silence fell. 3 days ago,
An accusation was made against the Luna. An accusation of treason against the Alpha bloodline. Murmurs erupted. Treason. The word alone carried crushing weight. The accusation was that the Luna deliberately administered poisonous herbs to me over an extended period, with the intent of rendering me infertile and unable to produce an heir. The murmurs became shouts. Impossible. Unthinkable. An Omega's lies, surely. Kate's expression shifted to perfect shock and pain. My love, how can you say such things publicly? I accuse you because the evidence demands it. Brian's voice cut through her protests. Isla, present your findings. The old healer stepped forward, unrolling the first scroll. Blood analysis taken from the Alpha King shows significant levels of wolfsbane extract, Barren root, and moon thistle. The concentration indicates consistent ingestion over a minimum of 2 years. The chamber exploded. Kate's mask slipped for just a moment, a flash of panic, before she recovered. If there are herbs in his system, they didn't come from me. Perhaps the kitchen staff. The kitchen staff has been investigated, Marcus interrupted. Every servant questioned under Alpha command. None of them administered anything unusual. But multiple servants confirmed that the Luna personally prepared the Alpha King's meals at least 4 times per week, sending all other staff away during preparation. Kate's jaw tightened. Because I wanted to show my mate love. Through poisoning him? Isla's voice was sharp as winter wind. The combination of herbs is precise, deliberate. Someone with knowledge of their effects administered them systematically. A leather pouch containing these exact herbs was found in your private chambers, Brian said coldly. Hidden in your vanity. Explain that. Kate's mouth opened and closed. The pack waited. It must have been planted. By an Omega? Brian asked. An Omega who had nothing to gain and everything to lose by speaking up. He gestured, and Anaya was brought forward. She looked terrified, small and fragile before the assembled might of the pack hierarchy. I saw the Luna take the pouch from her vanity, Anaya said, voice steady despite her fear. I saw her pour powder from it into the Alpha King's wine. I've seen her do it many times over the past year. Lies! Kate snarled, her careful mask shattering. You're a desperate Omega trying to... Trying to what? Anaya interrupted. Trying to die. Because that's what happens to Omegas who accuse Lunas. I gain nothing from this except probable execution. But I couldn't watch another person die the way my mother died. The raw honesty in her words rang through the chamber. This is all very compelling theatre, Kate said, voice shaking now. But it's an Omega's word against mine, against your Luna, against the mate bond blessed by the moon goddess herself. Then swear it, Brian said quietly. Swear on the moon goddess that you never administered those herbs to me with harmful intent. Kate's face went white. Swear it. If you're innocent, swearing should be easy. The entire pack held its breath. Kate's hands trembled. Her mouth worked, but no sound emerged. She started, stopped, started again. The bond should be enough. Swear it! Brian's alpha command crashed through the chamber like thunder. Kate stumbled back, her wolf forced into submission. And in that moment of vulnerability, she broke. I can't swear it because it's true. Her voice rose with desperation.
Yes, I gave him the herbs. Yes, I made him infertile. But I had no choice.
The chamber erupted in chaos. Brian raised his hand, and silence gradually returned. His face was stone. "Explain," he said simply. Kate's composure shattered completely. Tears streamed down her face, real ones this time.
I had no choice. Because I was born broken. I have no womb, Brian. I've never had one.
I'm physically incapable of bearing children. Gasps echoed through the hall. I hid it, Kate continued, words tumbling out. I hid it during our courtship, during our mating ceremony, through 5 years of marriage. I thought maybe it wouldn't matter. Maybe we could adopt an heir or claim one from a loyal family. But you wanted a child of your blood. You needed one. The pack demanded it. So you made me believe I was the problem, Brian said, voice hollow. Yes. Kate's voice broke. Because if you ever tried with another she-wolf, if you ever bedded anyone else, she'd get pregnant immediately and everyone would know. They'd know I was the broken one. You'd cast me aside, choose a fertile she-wolf, and I'd lose everything. The truth settled over the chamber like ash. So I made you infertile too, Kate whispered. If neither of us could have children, if we were both barren, then my secret would be safe. We could rule together without heirs, and no one would ever know the truth. Brian stared at the woman he'd thought he loved. You destroyed my bloodline, the pack's future, everything, all to hide your own shame.
I was terrified, Kate screamed. I loved you, but I loved being Luna more. I loved the power, the respect, the status. And I knew if the truth came out, I'd lose it all. So yes, I poisoned you. I made you weak. I stole your ability to father children because the alternative was losing everything I'd worked for. The confession hung in the air, damning and complete. Brian closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were empty of everything but cold resolve. Isla, confirm your findings publicly. The healer stepped forward. I examined the Luna under Alpha command. The medical evidence is irrefutable. She has no womb. She cannot bear children, and never could. Kate collapsed to her knees. Brian looked down at her, this stranger wearing his mate's face. You didn't just betray me. You betrayed every member of this pack who trusted you, who believed in our bond, who waited hopefully for an heir. I'm sorry, Kate sobbed. I'm so sorry. Sorry you did it, or sorry you were caught? She had no answer. Brian turned to the pack elders. By the ancient laws, what is the punishment for deliberate sabotage of the Alpha bloodline? The head elder's voice was grave. Death or permanent banishment, Your Majesty? Kate's sobs intensified. Brian felt the mate bond pulling at him, begging him to show mercy. But some betrayals were too deep to forgive. I choose banishment, he said. Banishment, Brian repeated. Effective immediately. Kate Winters, you are stripped of your title as Luna. You are cast out from these pack lands, never to return, under penalty of death. Kate's head snapped up. Brian, please. You will address me as Alpha King. You've lost the right to use my name. She flinched as if struck. But there's one thing left to do before you leave, Brian continued. The bond must be severed. Kate went utterly still. No, Alpha King, please, anything but that. Severing a mate bond was agony, a spiritual tearing that left both parties wounded in ways that never fully healed. You severed it yourself when you chose to poison me, Brian said. This is just making it official. The head elder stepped forward. Alpha King, are you certain? Once done, it cannot be undone. I'm certain. The elder began the ritual chant, words in the old tongue that made the air vibrate with power. Brian felt the bond between them grow visible somehow, a shimmering thread of silver light connecting his chest to Kate's. A thread that had been twisted and corrupted by lies. No, Kate whispered, please don't do this. The bond is sacred. The moon goddess herself blessed. The moon goddess blessed a union built on honesty and trust, Brian interrupted. You destroyed both. The elder's chant grew louder. The silver thread began to fray, individual strands snapping with small flashes of light. Each break sent sharp pain through Brian's chest. Kate wasn't so controlled. She gasped, clutching her chest. It hurts. Good. You should feel even a fraction of what you've done. More strands broke. The bond was unraveling quickly now, years of connection dissolving like smoke. Brian felt pieces of himself going with it. Memories of happier times, moments of genuine affection, the hope he'd once carried. All of it, poisoned at the root. Kate collapsed, shaking with sobs. I loved you. Despite everything, I did love you. You loved being Luna, Brian corrected. You loved power and status. I was just the means to keep them. The final strand snapped, with a sound like breaking crystal. The bond was gone, leaving a hollow ache in Brian's chest where it used to live. Kate screamed, a raw sound of anguish that echoed through the chamber. Brian felt empty, not relieved, not satisfied, just hollow. The elder stepped back. It is done, Alpha King. The bond is severed. She is no longer your mate in the eyes of the moon goddess or pack law. Kate looked up at him, mascara running down her face. What happens to me now? You leave, tonight. You're allowed one bag of personal belongings, no jewelry except what you're wearing, no money except what the pack provides for 2 weeks' survival. After that, you're on your own. Where am I supposed to go? Her voice was small, lost. Anywhere that isn't here. You made your choices, Kate. Now live with the consequences. The rogue lands will kill me. You should have thought of that before you committed treason. Marcus gestured to the guards. Take her to her chambers. Allow her to pack one bag under supervision. She leaves within the hour. As guards lifted Kate to her feet, she thrashed in their grip. You're sentencing me to death. Then find another pack. Beg for sanctuary. Use that silver tongue that lied to me for 5 years. Brian! She screamed his name. I'm sorry. Please, I'm sorry. But sorry couldn't undo years of poisoning. Sorry couldn't restore his fertility or return the time she'd stolen. The guards dragged her from the chamber, her screams fading as the heavy doors closed. An hour later, Brian stood in the courtyard as Kate was brought out. She changed into simple travelling clothes, a single bag clutched in her hands. Her eyes were red and swollen. She looked nothing like the polished Luna who'd ruled beside him. May I speak before I go? She asked quietly. Brian nodded once. I know you'll never forgive me. I don't expect you to. But I need you to understand. I never wanted to hurt you. I was just so afraid of losing everything.
You were afraid, Brian repeated flatly. So you destroyed me instead. That's not love, Kate. That's cruelty.
I know. Tears slipped down her cheeks. I know that now. But when I started, I told myself it was temporary, just until I figured out another solution. But there was no other solution. So I kept doing it. And the longer I did it, the harder it became to stop.
You lost me anyway. You just took years of my life with you when you fell. Kate flinched. I hope you find someone worthy of you. Someone who loves you the way I should have.
I hope I never trust that blindly again.
The guards led her away. Kate didn't look back. Brian watched until she disappeared beyond the gates. Then he turned and walked back into the palace. He felt nothing. Not relief, not satisfaction, not even anger anymore. Just a hollow emptiness where 5 years of his life used to be. The next morning, Brian woke to sunlight streaming through his chamber windows. For a moment he forgot, reached for the bond instinctively. Found nothing. The absence hit him like a physical blow. A soft knock on the door interrupted his spiraling thoughts. "Enter," he called. Anaya stepped in, carrying a breakfast tray. She moved carefully, as if afraid of intruding, and set the tray on his table. "Good morning, Your Majesty," she said quietly. "I've prepared your meal myself. Everything was sourced under guard supervision and prepared in the presence of 3 witnesses. I've tasted everything personally to ensure it's safe." Brian stared at the tray. Simple food, bread, eggs, fruit, tea. But it was honest, preparing by someone who'd proven trustworthy. "You didn't have to taste it first," he said. "Yes, I did. It's my responsibility now." Anaya's voice was firm. "You trusted me with your safety. I won't take that lightly." Something in Brian's chest loosened slightly. "Thank you," he said. Anaya bowed and turned to leave, but he stopped her. "Wait. Eat with me." She froze. "Your Majesty, that's not... Omegas don't dine with..." "I'm not asking you as your alpha. I'm asking as someone who doesn't want to eat alone this morning." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Please." After a long hesitation, Anaya sat. She perched on the edge of the chair, clearly uncomfortable, hands folded in her lap. Brian poured her tea, then his own. "How are your new quarters?" he asked. "Comfortable, Your Majesty. More than I deserve." "You deserve far more than the pack has ever given you." He took a bite of bread. "Tell me about your mother, if you're willing." Anaya's eyes widened in surprise. "Why would you want to know?" "Because you risked your life to prevent what happened to her from happening to me. I should know her story." Anaya was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, she began to speak. "She was Omega too. Worked in the kitchens of our old pack. She was kind, always humming while she worked, always finding little ways to make people smile." Anaya's voice softened with memory. "There was another woman, a Gamma, who wanted my mother's mate. My father wasn't high-ranked, but he was good and loyal. The Gamma decided she'd have him if my mother was out of the way. She poisoned her. Slowly, over months.
The same herbs, actually, wolfsbane and Barren root. My mother got weaker and weaker, couldn't shift anymore, could barely walk. The pack healer said it was disease. Anaya's hands tightened in her lap. I found the empty packets in the Gamma's fire pit. I was 12. I told my father, but he didn't believe me. Who would believe a child over a ranked pack member? I'm sorry. My mother died 2 months later. The Gamma comforted my father through his grief. They were mated within a year. Anaya's voice went flat. I left that pack as soon as I was old enough. Came here, started over. But I swore I'd never let it happen again if I had the power to stop it. Brian understood now. The pain in her eyes when she'd first approached him, the desperate certainty in her voice. Your mother would be proud of you, he said quietly. Anaya's eyes glistened. I hope so. They finished breakfast in companionable silence. When Anaya rose to leave, Brian stopped her again. One more thing. I want you to start taking meals with me. Breakfast and dinner, at least. Your Majesty, the pack will talk. Let them talk. I've just banished my Luna for treason. I think I can handle gossip about dining with an Omega. He met her eyes. I don't want to eat alone. Not right now. Anaya studied his face, and something in her expression softened. Then I'll be here, Your Majesty, for as long as you need. 2 weeks passed. The palace settled into a new rhythm. Brian threw himself into pack business, and every morning and evening Anaya was there. She spoke little, moved efficiently, and disappeared the moment her duties were complete. Brian found himself watching for her, listening for her quiet footsteps, looking forward to those brief moments of her presence. It was dangerous, he knew, but Anaya was different. She asked nothing of him, expected nothing, simply did her duty and left him in peace. Until the night, everything changed. Anaya was preparing Brian's dinner in the kitchen, humming softly to herself. She reached for the wine decanter, then froze. Something was wrong. The wine's colour was off, just slightly. And the smell. Her mother's death flashed through her mind. She grabbed the goblet and hurled it against the wall. Red wine splattered like blood across stone. Brian burst into the kitchen. What happened? Someone poisoned it. Again. Her voice shook. Kate's allies are still in this palace. The head cook stepped forward, face pale. I prepared that wine myself, Luna Anaya. No one else touched. Then you just tried to kill the Alpha King. Anaya's wolf surged forward, and for the first time the cook saw an Omega bare her teeth. Guards! 2 guards entered immediately. Detain the head cook, Anaya commanded. Test everything in this kitchen. I want to know who else is involved. Brian watched her take control, and something shifted in his chest. This wasn't the trembling Omega who'd first approached him. This was someone finding her power. Your Majesty, the cook protested. I would never. I've served this pack for 20 years. And someone got to you, Brian said coldly. Either you're working with Kate's sympathizers, or you're incompetent enough to let them access royal food. Either way, you're done. As guards led the cook away, Anaya sagged against the counter. Brian crossed to her. You saved me. Again. I almost didn't catch it. The poison was different this time, more subtle. Her hands trembled. What if I'd missed it? What if... But you didn't. He covered her hands with his. You're keeping me alive, Anaya. Do you understand that? You're the only thing standing between me and whoever wants me dead. She looked up at him, and awareness crackled between them. I won't let anything happen to you, she whispered. I swear it. Brian believed her. The assassination attempt changed things.
Marcus assigned additional guards to the kitchens. Isla personally tested every herb and ingredient, and Anaya moved into quarters directly adjacent to Brian's chambers, no longer just preparing his meals, but overseeing every aspect of his daily safety. She was there when he woke, there when he slept, a constant,
quiet presence. And Brian found he didn't want her anywhere else. Weeks passed. The palace gossip intensified. The Alpha King and an Omega, constantly together. The impropriety of it. The scandal. Marcus finally confronted him. Alpha King, the pack elders are concerned. They say it's inappropriate for an unmated Omega to spend so much time in your chambers. They're worried about implications. Brian looked up from his reports. What implications? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. That you might be involved with her. Romantically. And if I were? The beater's eyes widened. Your Majesty, she's an Omega. You need a proper Luna. Someone of rank who can poison me? Like the last one? Brian's voice was sharp. I'd rather have an honest Omega than a treacherous Luna. But the pack will adjust.
Anaya stays. That's final.
Marcus bowed stiffly and left. Brian tried to return to his reports, but the conversation lingered. Was he becoming too dependent on Anaya? Was this grief making him cling to the first person who'd shown him genuine care? Or was it something else? He found himself noticing things lately. The way Anaya's eyes crinkled when she smiled. The soft sound of her humming while she prepared his meals. The graceful efficiency of her movements. It wasn't just gratitude, he realized. It was attraction. When Anaya arrived that evening with dinner, wearing a simple blue dress that brought out the colour of her eyes, Brian's heart did something complicated in his chest. You're staring, Your Majesty, she said softly, setting down the tray. Sorry, just thinking. About what? She sat across from him, their new routine, eating together like equals. About what the pack thinks we're doing. Anaya's cheeks flushed. I've heard the whispers. If it's causing you problems, I can stop staying. No. The word came out too quickly. I mean, I don't want you to stop. I don't care what they think. You should care. You're Alpha King. Your reputation matters. My survival matters more. And right now, you're the only thing keeping me sane. Brian met her eyes. Is that selfish? Asking you to stay despite the gossip? No. Anaya's voice was gentle. It's honest. And I'd rather deal with gossip than watch you suffer alone. They ate in silence for a while. Then Brian asked the question that had been building. Why do you do this? You've fulfilled your duty 10 times over. You could request a transfer, distance yourself from the scandal. Why stay? Anaya was quiet for a long moment. Because you need someone who sees you as more than a title. More than an Alpha King who must be strong and perfect and unbreakable. She looked up. You're just a man who was betrayed by someone he loved. A man who's trying to heal. And I understand what that's like. Something cracked in Brian's chest. A wall he'd built around himself since Kate's banishment. You're not what I expected, he said quietly. What did you expect? Someone grateful for the opportunity. Someone who'd use proximity to me for advancement. He smiled sadly. Someone like everyone else in this palace. I don't want advancement. I just want to help. The way no one helped my mother. Brian reached across the table,
covering her hand with his. The contact sent warmth through him.
You've helped more than you know. Anaya's breath caught. For a moment, something electric hung between them, awareness, possibility, the beginning of something neither had anticipated. Then she gently withdrew her hand. I should clean up. It's getting late. Stay, Brian said, like usual. Please. She nodded, clearing the dishes, then settling into her chair by the fire. Brian lay in bed, watching the firelight play across her profile. He was falling for her. Not because she was beautiful, though she was. Not because she was convenient. But because she was genuine in a world of masks, honest in a palace of lies, and safe in a way he'd never experienced before. It terrified him. But it also felt like the first real thing he'd experienced in years. Brian woke from a nightmare, gasping, sheets soaked with sweat. In the dream, he'd been drinking Kate's poisoned wine, watching himself grow weaker while she smiled and poured him more. He sat up, shaking, and reached instinctively for water on his bedside table. His hand froze halfway to the glass. What if it was poisoned? Your Majesty? Anaya's voice came from the doorway. She stood there in a simple nightgown, hair loose around her shoulders, concern etched on her face. I heard you cry out, she said softly. Are you all right? Brian stared at the water glass, hand still trembling. I can't. She understood immediately, crossed the room without hesitation, picked up the glass and drank from it herself. Waited a moment, then offered it to him. It's safe, she said gently. I promise. He took it with shaking hands and drank deeply.
I can't do this, he said hoarsely. I can't eat, or drink, or sleep without wondering if someone's trying to kill me. I can't trust anyone.
Anaya hesitated, then sat carefully on the edge of his bed. A breach of protocol so severe it should have shocked him. But Brian felt only relief at not being alone. The fear will fade, she said quietly. It takes time, but eventually you'll learn to trust again.
How? Everyone wants something from an alpha king. How do I know who's real and who's performing?
You start with people who've already proven themselves. People who had nothing to gain and everything to lose, but helped you anyway. She met his eyes. Like the Omega, who risked execution to tell you the truth. Despite everything, Brian almost smiled.
You're biased.
I'm honest. There's a difference. Anaya stood. I'll stay outside your door tonight. If you need anything, just call. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Because right now, you need someone you can trust absolutely. And I'm the only one who qualifies. Her voice was firm. So I'll stay, for as long as it takes. She turned to leave, but Brian caught her wrist. The contact startled them both. Alphas didn't casually touch Omegas, and the spark of awareness that shot through him was unexpected. He released her quickly. Stay here, in the room, please. Anaya's eyes widened. Your Majesty, that's highly inappropriate. I don't care. I need to know someone's here, someone I trust, just for tonight. She studied his face, seeing the vulnerability there, the raw fear he couldn't quite hide. Finally, she nodded. I'll sleep in the chair by the fire. That way I'm close if you need me. Thank you. Anaya settled into the armchair, curling up with a spare blanket. Brian lay back down, hyper-aware of her presence. For the first time since Kate's banishment, he felt safe enough to sleep.
It became a pattern. Anaya would arrive with dinner, and Brian would ask her to stay. They'd talk about the pack, about her mother, about nothing important. Then she'd settle in the chair while he slept. 3 months passed. Brian's body healed under Isla's treatments. The poison left his system. Strength returned. Clarity sharpened. But the deeper healing, the ability to trust again, came from Anaya. The pack noticed, of course. Whispers spread, but Brian didn't care. Because for the first time in 5 years, he felt safe. And it terrified him how much he'd come to need her. The market fell silent as Anaya entered. Every she-wolf turned to stare at the Omega wearing fine clothes, walking with purpose instead of deference. Anaya kept her head high, though her heart raced. She was purchasing herbs for the Alpha King's meals, a task she insisted on doing personally. "Well, well," a familiar voice sneered. "The servant thinks she's royalty now." Lady Helena stepped into her path. A gamma who'd been Kate's closest friend. Tall, beautiful, and radiating contempt. "Lady Helena," Anaya said evenly. "Excuse me, I have duties to attend." "Duties?" Helena's laugh was sharp. "Is that what you call seducing our Alpha King while he's vulnerable? Manipulating a grieving man?" Conversation in the market ceased. Every eye turned to them. Anaya's hands clenched at her sides. "I've done no such thing." "Haven't you?" Helena stepped closer, voice dripping with malice. "Everyone knows what you are. A scheming Omega who saw an opportunity and took it. You poisoned Kate's reputation, turned the Alpha King against his own mate." "Kate poisoned the Alpha King for 5 years," Anaya said quietly, but her voice carried. "I saved his life. If you can't tell the difference between betrayal and loyalty, that's your failing, not mine." Helena's face flushed with rage. "You manipulated him. Kate told me everything before she was exiled. How you planted evidence, lied to gain his favor. Kate lied to you the way she lied to everyone." Anaya's voice hardened. "She confessed, in front of the entire pack tribunal. She admitted to the poisoning, to hiding her infertility, to destroying the Alpha King's fertility to protect her own secret." "That's your version." "That's the truth. Ask anyone who attended the tribunal. Ask the pack elders. Ask the healer who tested the herbs and examined both the Alpha King and Kate." Anaya stepped forward, and Helena actually backed up. "I understand you miss your friend, but don't rewrite history to make a traitor into a victim." "How dare you!" Helena's hand flew up. Anaya caught her wrist mid-swing. The market gasped. An Omega stopping a Gamma's strike was unthinkable. "I dare," Anaya said softly, "because I've already faced death once for speaking truth. Your disapproval doesn't frighten me." She released Helena's wrist and walked past her, head high. Behind her, Helena's voice trembled with fury. "This isn't over, Omega. You may have fooled the Alpha King, but the pack sees what you really are. And we won't let you destroy everything Kate built." Anaya didn't respond, didn't look back, but her hands didn't stop shaking until she reached the palace. She was still rattled when she prepared dinner that evening. Brian noticed immediately. "What happened?" he asked. "Nothing important." "Anaya." His voice was gentle but firm. "What happened?" She set down the herb she'd been chopping. "I had a confrontation in the market with Lady Helena, one of Kate's friends." Brian's expression darkened. "What did she say?" "That I'm manipulating you, that I schemed my way into your favor, that the pack sees through me." Anaya's voice was steady,
but her hands trembled. She's not wrong about the last part. The pack does see me as an opportunist, an Omega who got above her station through deception. The pack is wrong. Are they? Anaya looked up, eyes troubled. Look at us, Your Majesty. An Alpha King and an Omega, spending every moment together, eating meals alone. I sleep in your chambers every night. How does that look to them? I don't care how it looks. You should care. You're Alpha King. Your reputation... My reputation survived banishing my Luna for treason. It'll survive trusting an Omega who saved my life. Brian crossed to her, voice intense. Helena and her friends can whisper all they want. It doesn't change what's true. And what's true? That you're the most honest person in this palace. That you've proven your loyalty 100 times over. That I trust you more than anyone I've ever known. He paused. That I'm falling for you. The words hung in the air. Anaya's breath caught. Don't. Don't what? Don't say things like that. Don't look at me like... She shook her head. I'm Omega, Your Majesty, the lowest rank. I can never be what you need. You're already what I need. You have been for months. That's gratitude talking, because I helped you. This isn't gratitude. Brian stepped closer. This is me, terrified, because I'm falling for someone I have no right to want. Someone who's made me feel more seen and valued in 3 months than Kate did in 5 years. Anaya's eyes glistened. It doesn't matter what you feel. The pack will never accept an Omega as Luna. They'll revolt. Everything you've built. Let them revolt. I spent 5 years in a bond built on lies and propriety. I won't do it again. I won't choose duty over truth. Brian. His name slipped out, intimate and forbidden. Say it again, he whispered. I can't. This can't happen. You're Alpha King and I'm... He kissed her. It was gentle, tentative, giving her every opportunity to pull away. But Anaya melted into him instead, hands coming up to grip his shirt, kissing him back with desperate longing. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Anaya's face was wet with tears. This is insane, she whispered. I know. The pack will hate me. They'll say I manipulated you, seduced you for power. I don't care. You should care. You're risking everything. For you. Brian cupped her face. I'm risking everything for you. Because you're worth it. Anaya closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. What if I'm not? What if I can't be the Luna the pack needs? You already are. You've been protecting me, caring for the pack's future, showing more integrity than anyone in this palace. The only difference between you and any high-ranked she-wolf is arbitrary hierarchy that means nothing. It means everything to them. Then they'll learn. Or they won't. But I'm not losing you to appease wolves who value rank over character. He kissed her forehead. I love you, Anaya. I think I have for weeks. I was just too scared to admit it. She sobbed once, quietly. I love you too. I've tried not to, tried to keep my distance, but you made it impossible. Brian pulled her close, holding her while she cried. This wouldn't be easy. The pack would resist. Tradition would fight back. But for the first time since Kate's betrayal, Brian felt certain of something. This was right. She was right. And he'd fight the whole world to keep her. The pack meeting was called for the following evening. Every ranked wolf in the kingdom crammed into the great hall. The Alpha King had rejected all lunar candidates, been seen embracing an Omega, looked happier than he had in months. The whispers were scandal, curiosity, and growing outrage. Brian stood before his throne, Anaya beside him. Not behind, not hidden. Beside him, where a mate would stand. The head elder stepped forward, face grave. Alpha King, the pack demands clarification. There are rumors about your relationship with this Omega. They're not rumors, Brian said clearly. Anaya Frost is my chosen mate. I'm making it official before the pack tonight. The hall erupted. Shouts of disbelief, anger.
Confusion crashed over them like waves. An Omega cannot be lunar. It violates every tradition we have. You're disgracing the position your ancestors built. Brian let them rage, then released his alpha presence. The room fell silent instantly. I am Alpha King, he said, voice carrying to every corner. And I choose my mate according to what serves this pack best. Not tradition, not politics. What matters. Tradition matters, the head elder protested. The lunar must be high-ranked, proven fertile. Capable of what? Poisoning me? Brian's words cut like blades. My last appropriate lunar nearly destroyed our bloodline to hide her inadequacy. Uncomfortable silence followed. Anaya Frost saved my life when every ranked wolf in this palace either didn't notice or didn't care that I was being poisoned. Brian continued. She risked execution to speak truth no one else would. She's shown more loyalty, more courage, more integrity than anyone who claims rank makes them worthy. But she's Omega, someone called. She can't lead, can't fight. Can't what? Care for this pack. Protect its alpha. Make sacrifices for the greater good. Brian's voice was steel. She's done all of that and more. What she lacks in rank, she makes up for in character. And I'll take character over bloodline any day. Anaya stood silent beside him, head high, despite hundreds of hostile eyes. Brian took her hand, deliberate, public, claiming her before everyone. This is madness, the head elder said. The pack will never accept. The pack will accept what I tell them to accept. I am Alpha. My word is law. Brian's eyes blazed. But I'll give you this. Any wolf who cannot serve under Anaya as lunar is free to leave. No punishment, no exile. Just leave peacefully and find another pack. The challenge hung in the air. Several wolves shifted uncomfortably. Marcus stepped forward then, surprising everyone. I'll stay. Brian's eyes widened slightly. His beta had been one of the most vocal about propriety. The Alpha King is right, Marcus said, addressing the pack. We trusted rank and tradition with Kate, and look where that led. Maybe it's time we valued something different. Anaya saved our Alpha when we failed to. That earns respect, regardless of her birth rank. A few wolves murmured agreement. An older she-wolf stood, one of the pack's most respected warriors. My daughter is Omega. Works in the laundries, barely noticed by anyone. But she's smart, kind. Works harder than wolves twice her rank. If Anaya becomes lunar, Her voice caught. Maybe my daughter will have a future beyond invisible servitude. Maybe Omegas everywhere will. More murmurs, these ones thoughtful rather than angry.
This sets a dangerous precedent,
the head elder argued.
If rank means nothing. Rank means something,
Brian interrupted,
but it's not the only thing. And it shouldn't be a prison that keeps talented wolves suppressed because of birth circumstances they can't control.
He looked around the hall.
How many of you have Omega family members? Friends? Wolves you know are capable of more, but will never get the chance because of arbitrary hierarchy.
Hands slowly rose, more than Brian expected. Anaya won't just be my Luna. She'll be proof that worth isn't determined by rank,
that this pack values character and courage over bloodline.
He paused.
And anyone who can't accept that is welcome to leave. I mean it. No hard feelings. But I won't compromise on this.
The hall fell into tense silence. Finally, the head elder sighed.
If this is your choice, Alpha King, we cannot stop you. But don't expect universal acceptance overnight. Change this fundamental takes time.
I have time, Brian said, and patience. What I don't have is willingness to repeat the mistakes of my past. The elder bowed stiffly.
Then let it be recorded. Anaya Frost is recognized as the Alpha King's chosen mate. The bonding ceremony will proceed according to tradition.
It wasn't enthusiastic support, but it was acknowledgement. A start. As the meeting dispersed, wolves filed out in clusters, arguing in hushed tones.
Some looked angry, others curious, a few genuinely hopeful.
Anaya finally exhaled, sagging slightly.
That was terrifying.
You were perfect. Brian pulled her close, strong and dignified, and everything a Luna should be.
They hate me.
Some do. Others are coming around. The rest will follow eventually. He kissed her temple. We knew this wouldn't be easy.
What if they never accept me?
Then I'll rebuild their trust, with you beside me. Brian lifted her chin. I meant every word I said in there. You're worth fighting for. The bonding ceremony was set for 3 days later. Preparations consumed the palace. Decorations, food, guest lists. The pack elders worked to make it traditional and proper, as if dressing the ceremony in formality could make an Omega Luna more palatable.
Anaya tried on the ceremonial gown, white silk embroidered with silver thread. She looked beautiful,
but her reflection showed fear.
What if I'm not ready?
She asked Isla, who was helping with the fitting. The old healer smiled.
No one's ever ready for this, but you love him, and he loves you. That's all that truly matters.
The pack will follow strength. Show them yours, and they'll come around. Anaya nodded, trying to believe it. The day of the ceremony arrived with clear skies and warm sun. Wolves gathered in the great hall, filling every available space. Some came to show support. Others came out of curiosity or duty. A few came to witness what they believed would be a disaster. Brian stood at the altar in traditional Alpha ceremonial dress, Marcus beside him as witness. His heart pounded as he waited.
Then the doors opened. Anaya entered, and Brian's breath caught. She was radiant in white silk, hair adorned with silver flowers, moving with quiet grace. Not like an Omega trying to be something else, like a Luna who'd always belonged. She reached the altar, and Brian took her hands. They were trembling.
"I've got you," he whispered.
I know, she whispered back. Isla stepped forward to perform the ritual, binding their souls with ancient words and sacred herbs. Do you, Brian Thorne, Alpha King of the Northern Pack, take Anaya Frost as your mate, to honor, to protect, to cherish above all others, until death or bond-breaking parts you? I do, Brian said, voice strong and certain. And do you, Anaya Frost, take Brian Thorne as your mate, to honor, to stand beside, to support through all trials,
Until death or bond-breaking parts you?
I do.
Anaya's voice was soft but steady. Isla began the binding chant. Power filled the air, ancient and undeniable. Brian felt it, the new bond forming between them, clean and honest and warm. Nothing like the twisted thing he'd shared with Kate. This felt like coming home. Anaya gasped as she felt it too.
Brian.
I know. I feel it. The bond snapped fully into place, and their wolves recognized each other as mates. The rightness of it resonated through every fiber of Brian's being. This was what the moon goddess intended. Isla smiled. By the power of the moon goddess and the ancient laws of our kind, I declare you bonded. May your union bring strength to this pack and— The doors burst open. Kate stood in the entrance.
She looked nothing like the polished Luna who'd left 3 months ago. Her clothes were rags, face gaunt from months in the Roguelands, hair tangled and dirty. But her eyes burned with fury.
You can't do this, she rasped, voice hoarse. I'm still his mate. The bond was severed, but it can be restored. The moon goddess—
The moon goddess blessed my union with Anaya, Brian said coldly. You lost your chance. Kate's laugh was broken, terrible.
Did I? Or did this Omega manipulate you while you were vulnerable? Seduce you while you grieved our bond?
Our bond was built on lies, Brian said. What I have with Anaya is real.
Real?
Kate stepped forward, and guards moved to intercept, but she waved them off.
I'll leave peacefully. But first, I invoke ancient law. The law that protects pack bloodlines above all else.
The hall went silent.
Any she-wolf can challenge a Luna for her position, Kate continued, voice rising. Trial by combat. If the current Luna cannot defend her claim through strength, she forfeits her right to stand beside the Alpha King.
Gasps echoed through the chamber. The law was archaic, rarely invoked, but still valid. Brian stepped forward. Kate, don't do this. I challenge Anaya Frost for the position of Luna, Kate said formally. Tomorrow at dawn. Let the moon goddess judge who is truly worthy. Every eye turned to Anaya. She stood frozen, face pale. Because everyone knew. Omegas couldn't fight. Kate was trained, vicious, and had nothing left to lose. Anaya had just been sentenced to death. I accept, Anaya said quietly. No. Brian grabbed her arm.
You don't have to. Yes, I do.
Anaya's voice was steady despite her fear. If I don't accept, I prove every wolf who doubts me right, that I'm too weak to be Luna, that I don't belong beside you. She turned to Kate. Tomorrow at dawn, I'll meet you in the ceremonial ring. Kate smiled. A broken, terrible smile. Good. When I kill you, Brian will have no choice but to take me back. Or find another proper Luna. Either way, the Omega dies. She left, and the celebration turned to dread, because Anaya had just agreed to fight a battle she couldn't possibly win. The ceremony ended in chaos, wolves scattered, whispering,
placing bets on how quickly Kate would kill the Omega pretender. Brian pulled Anaya into a private chamber. "Why did you accept?" His voice was anguished. "You could have refused."
"And I would have dealt with Kate, and the pack would have seen me hide behind you, would have known I couldn't defend my own claim." Anaya's hands were shaking, but her voice was firm. "This is the only way, Brian. If I'm going to be Luna, I have to prove I'm strong enough to hold the position."
"You are strong enough."
"Not in the way the pack understands strength. Not yet." She met his eyes. "I have to do this. And I have to win."
"You can't fight Kate. She's been trained since childhood. She's vicious, and she has nothing to lose."
"And I have everything to lose. My life, yes. But also you. Us. The future we could have together." Anaya touched his face. "That's worth fighting for." Brian pulled her close, heart breaking.
"I can't watch you die."
"Then don't watch. Have faith."
"In what? You've never trained for combat."
"You're half her size." "Faith in me," Anaya whispered. "Faith that I didn't survive this long by being weak. I just learned to hide my strength to stay safe."
She pulled back, eyes burning with determination Brian had never seen before.
"I need to prepare, and I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing."
Anaya didn't sleep that night. She stood in the training room, studying the weapons laid out before her. Swords, daggers, staffs, all of them useless to someone who'd never trained. Marcus entered quietly. "May I speak plainly, Lady Anaya?" She smiled sadly at the title.
"Of course."
"You're going to die tomorrow. Kate is a skilled fighter, and you—" He trailed off delicately.
"And I'm an Omega who's never held a weapon in her life,"
Anaya finished.
"I know. Then why accept the challenge?" "Because refusing would prove I don't belong. And I do belong, Marcus. Not because of rank or bloodline, but because I love this pack's alpha with everything I am, and I'll protect him with my last breath."
Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Kate will try to kill you quickly. She'll go for vital areas, throat, heart, major arteries."
"I know."
"So don't be where she expects you to be." He picked up a small dagger. "Omegas survive by being invisible, by reading people, by anticipating what others will do. Use that. Kate knows how to fight warriors. She doesn't know how to fight you." Anaya took the dagger, feeling its weight. "You're helping me." "I'm helping my Luna prepare for battle. There's a difference." Something warm bloomed in Anaya's chest.
Marcus had called her Luna without hesitation or irony. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet. Just survive tomorrow. Then we'll call it even." Dawn came too quickly. The entire pack gathered around the ceremonial ring, a circle of stones in the clearing beyond the palace. Ancient law required trials by combat to be witnessed by all. Brian stood at the edge, face pale, hands clenched. Marcus beside him, equally grim. Kate entered first. She'd bathed, dressed in fighting leathers, armed herself with a sword and dagger. She looked every inch the warrior Luna. Anaya entered wearing simple clothes, unarmed except for the small dagger Marcus had given her, hidden at her waist. She looked like a lamb walking to slaughter. The pack elder stepped forward. "This is a trial by combat for the position of Luna." The challenge has been issued and accepted. The fight continues until one party yields, is incapacitated, or dies.
There are no other rules. May the moon goddess guide the worthy. Kate drew her sword. I'll make this quick, Omega, for old time's sake. Anaya said nothing, just watched, waited.
Begin!
The elder shouted. Kate lunged immediately, sword flashing toward Anaya's throat. Anaya wasn't there. She'd moved before Kate finished her swing, not with trained grace, but with pure survival instinct. The kind of movement that came from years of dodging larger wolves, avoiding attention, staying alive in a hierarchy that considered her expendable. Kate's sword hit air. Stop running, Omega, Kate snarled, pivoting. Face me. Anaya circled, staying just out of reach, watching, learning Kate's patterns. The pack murmured.
This wasn't how fights were supposed to go. This was undignified. Cowardly, even. But Anaya didn't care about dignity. She cared about survival. Kate charged again, faster this time, sword cutting through the space where Anaya's chest had been a heartbeat earlier. Anaya rolled, came up near the edge of the ring. You can't dodge forever! Kate's voice rose with frustration. Eventually you'll tire, and I'll... Anaya threw dirt in her face. Kate stumbled back, cursing, rubbing at her eyes. The pack gasped. Dirty fighting. Dishonorable. Anaya didn't care. While Kate was blinded, Anaya darted in, pulled the dagger from her waist, and slashed at Kate's sword arm. Not deep, just enough to hurt, to slow. Kate roared with rage and pain, swinging wildly. Anaya ducked under the blade, dancing away. You fight like a coward, Kate spat, vision clearing, blood running down her arm. I fight to win, Anaya said quietly. There's a difference. Kate's eyes narrowed. She was reassessing now, realizing this wouldn't be the quick execution she'd planned. They circled each other. You think you can beat me with tricks? Kate asked. I was trained by the best warriors in 3 packs. You're a servant who got lucky. Lucky, Anaya repeated. Is that what you call surviving in a pack that treated me as invisible? Learning to read people's intentions because my life depended on staying out of their way? Developing instincts that kept me alive when I had no rank, no protection, no value? She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. You were trained to fight warriors, Kate. I was trained to survive. Let's see which matters more. Kate attacked again, a flurry of strikes meant to overwhelm. But Anaya wasn't trying to block or parry like a trained fighter would. She was simply not there. Dodge, roll, duck, move. Every strike hit air. Every lunge found nothing. And every time Kate extended herself, Anaya was there with the dagger. Quick slashes to arms, legs, hands. Nothing fatal, just accumulating damage. Death by 1,000 cuts. The pack was silent now, watching in disbelief. Brian's heart hammered in his chest. This wasn't the graceful combat of trained warriors. This was scrappy, desperate, raw. But Anaya was winning. Kate was bleeding from a dozen shallow wounds, breathing hard, movements slowing. Stand still and fight me, Kate screamed. Why? Anaya asked. So you can kill me faster? No, thank you. Kate's next attack was pure rage. No technique, just fury. She charged, sword raised overhead for a killing blow. Anaya waited until the last possible moment, then dropped to the ground. Kate's momentum carried her forward, stumbling over Anaya's crouched form. As Kate fell, Anaya rolled, came up behind her, and pressed the dagger to Kate's throat. Yield, Anaya said quietly. Kate froze.
The sword fell from her hand. The pack held its collective breath. "Yield," Anaya repeated, "and I'll let you walk away. Refuse, and I'll end this. Choose." Kate's body shook, with rage, with grief, with the devastating reality that she'd lost everything to an Omega. "I yield," Kate whispered. Anaya stepped back, lowering the dagger. The pack erupted in noise, shock, excitement, disbelief. The elder stepped forward. "The challenge is concluded. Anaya Frost has defended her claim to the position of Luna. Kate Winters, by the laws of combat challenge, you are forbidden from ever challenging again. Leave these lands immediately, and do not return under penalty of death." Kate struggled to her feet, bleeding, broken. She looked at Brian one last time. "I hope she's worth it," she said hoarsely. "She is," Brian said. "She always was." Kate left without another word. Brian crossed the ring, pulled Anaya into his arms. "I thought I was going to watch you die." "I told you to have faith," Anaya said, trembling with adrenaline and relief. "I'll never doubt you again." Around them, the pack slowly began to chant, "Luna, Luna, Luna." Not everyone joined, but enough did. It was a start. Anaya stood in the healer's chambers while Isla examined her. Brian paced outside, trying not to be anxious. When Anaya emerged, her face was radiant. "Well?" he asked. "I'm pregnant." Wonder filled her voice. "We're having an heir." Brian's world tilted. The thing Kate had stolen, the future he'd thought impossible. It was happening. With Anaya. With his true mate. He pulled her close, both of them crying and laughing. "The pack will have to accept me now," Anaya said through tears. "I'm carrying the future Alpha." "They were already accepting you. This just proves what I already knew. You're exactly who this pack needed." News spread quickly. The Omega Luna was pregnant. Some wolves who'd remained hostile softened. An heir meant stability, continuity, hope. Anaya's belly grew over the following months. She transformed from uncertain Omega to confident Luna, creating programs for lower-ranked wolves, educational opportunities for Omegas, reforming hierarchies to be more equitable. The pack changed with her. Slowly, resistantly, but undeniably. And when their son was born, strong, healthy, howling with alpha power, even the most traditional wolves couldn't deny the moon goddess's blessing on their union. Brian held his heir while Anaya rested, exhausted and beautiful. "What should we name him?" she asked softly. "Something meaningful. Something that honors how far we've come." He thought for a moment. "Farron. It means hunter. Because you hunted down the truth when everyone else was blind." Anaya's eyes glistened. Theron. Perfect. Brian looked at his mate, at their son, at the future they'd built against all odds. Kate had tried to destroy his bloodline to protect her lie, but Anaya had saved it by speaking truth. And in the end, that made all the difference. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too." Anaya smiled. "My alpha, my mate, my impossible choice that became everything right." Outside the window, the full moon rose over the packlands, blessing the family that had broken tradition to find something real. And in the great hall below,
Wolves who'd once scorned an Omega Luna now celebrated her child, the future of their pack, born from courage rather than convention. The hierarchy would never be the same. And that, Brian thought, was exactly how it should be. The greatest threats don't always come from enemies at the gates. Sometimes they sleep beside you, smile across the breakfast table, and slowly poison everything you are while whispering words of love. Trust your instincts.
If something feels wrong, it probably is, even when it comes from someone you love. If this story made you feel something, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Does Brian find justice? Can he ever trust again? Will Kate face the consequences she deserves? New stories drop every day. Don't let this story end here. Drop a comment and let me know. What would you do if you were Brian?